In 2023, I travelled to the Indonesian island of Sumatra in search of its incredible biodiversity. While venturing into Sumatra's last remaining forests, I encountered an array of beautiful and bizarre species. Some are the most unique and mighty of their kind, while others are found nowhere else on Earth. And some are among the most endangered species that exist today. This is Sumatra. The village of Bukit Lawang is one of Sumatra's most popular tourist destinations. A major reason for this is due to the near guarantee of seeing Sumatran orangutans roaming free in the nearby forest. Orangutans are celebrated here and are depicted in amazing street art in this busy community. The many global visitors that orangutans attract is also good for the local economy.
It's a lot of ginger though.
During my stay here, I had to hike the nearby forest to see this Indonesian icon for myself, following a local guide named Chichi. The forest here is stunning and is something to be admired. It wasn't long until we spotted a familiar ginger arm poking out of the foliage. And more orange masses began to move above us. Sunlight further saturated their astonishing colour.
So we've only been trekking for about 30 minutes and already we've bumped into this female orangutan right behind me with a baby nearby. I didn't think it would be this easy. That is absolutely magic. So I just want to show you something quickly. There's an abandoned orangutan nest.
Orangutans make a nest out of branches and vegetation, which they rebuild every day. As we hiked further, a different species of primate made itself known with a distinctive call.
So we're just hiking along and the sound, the eerie, amazing sound of white-handed gibbons is now flooding the canopy, and I think they're getting closer, so hopefully I can get some footage.
There's a reason why the orangutans here are so easy to find. Many of the individuals in this area were once taken from the wild for the illegal pet trade as young infants. If this wasn't bad enough, the mother of an infant is usually killed during this process as she tries to defend her baby. After years of rehabilitation, some are released back into their natural habitat. Others may have been rehabilitated after serious injury, which is often inflicted by air rifles and parangs used by farmers and plantation workers to remove orangutans from the area. Although these orangutans now live freely in the forests around Bukit Lawang, many have not fully lost their connection with humans. There has also been a history of guides and tourists feeding the orangutans, which has further hindered their ability to become truly wild. Many of the individuals around Bukit Lawang are therefore considered semi-wild. The close proximity between human and orangutan here can lead to potentially dangerous situations, as some individuals have taken their boldness to another level. This is one such orangutan, locally known as Jackie, who I had the pleasure of meeting in the forest with her baby. Over the years, Jackie has been filmed grabbing tourists by the wrist, holding them as hostages until she is fed by the local guides. Orangutans are several times stronger than a human, and so Jackie could cause serious harm in this situation if she wanted to. But Jackie is also at risk. Due to orangutans sharing around 97% of their DNA with humans, she could contract diseases and illnesses that we suffer from without any medicine to cure it. This has proven to be fatal to other orangutans in the past. The only way to make Jackie let go of a tourist is to feed her, and the cycle continues. Although the number of these incidents has lowered in recent years, I was disappointed to see a local guide feeding Jackie to make her come closer for his clients. I'm thankful for my responsible guide Chi-Chi, who ensured we didn't get too close. However, Jackie suddenly decided to descend from the trees and stroll right past us. My heart was in my throat. I backed off as much as I could, but this was difficult with a steep slope behind me. The orangutans around Bukit Lawang spend a lot of time on the ground, which is not normal behaviour of a Sumatran orangutan. Truly wild individuals spend most of their time high up in the canopy. Thankfully, she wasn't interested in grabbing any visitors today. I was pleased to see Jackie showing at least some natural foraging behaviour by bashing termites out of their nest. She was watched closely by her baby, who was learning skills it will need in future to find food. But if adult orangutans continue to associate people with food, then the infants will learn this as well. It's up to local guides and tourists to be more responsible in keeping their distance and to stop feeding. Phasing this out over time will help young orangutans learn how to behave more naturally. Orangutan tourism isn't perfect in Bukit Lawang, but it has improved over the years and will hopefully continue to do so. The economic boost this village receives from being a popular tourist destination is invaluable and ensures that this part of the Leuser ecosystem remains intact for a plethora of other species as well. As my time in Bukit Lawang was coming to an end, I wanted to find truly wild orangutans and see how their behaviour differs from semi-wild individuals. So I headed deeper into the Leuser rainforest through the province of Aceh. As it was market day in some villages, this journey took longer than expected. I met with local guides Raja and Safar, who would help me find orangutans while camping in this ancient forest for the next few days. We hiked to base camp while scanning the dense canopy for a glimpse of this iconic ape. Wild Sumatran orangutans are almost exclusively arboreal and spend much less time on the ground than the Bornean orangutan. This is likely due to the predatory threat of tigers in Sumatra, which is absent in Borneo. A second species of orangutan in Sumatra is the Tapanuli orangutan, which spends most of its time in the canopy of the Batang Toru forest. Discovered as a distinct species in 2017, the Tapanuli orangutan is only found in this isolated forest, which is south of Lake Toba. With a population of less than 800 individuals, it's one of the most endangered great apes in the world. The Sumatran orangutan, which is also critically endangered, occurs north of Lake Toba, which is where we are located. I soon realized we were being watched from up above by a baby orangutan lounging with its mother.
The Sumatran orangutan is a critically endangered species, and it's such a privilege to spend time with these animals in the wild where they belong.
Unlike the individuals around Bukit Lawang, they were around 50 feet above us and had no intention of coming down.
This has to be one of the most special, exquisite wildlife experiences I've ever had. This is one of the main reasons I travelled across the world from the UK. As a naturalist from my childhood, I've always dreamed of seeing things like this in the wild.
The mother started to break into a hypnophytum, also known as an ant plant, to feed on the ant larvae inside. This plant has a symbiotic relationship with ants. The hollow chambers inside the plant provide somewhere for the ants to make a nest, and, in return, the ants defend the plant from insects that eat its leaves. The ants also provide extra nutrients for the plants with their waste, but they are defenseless against a hungry orangutan and are shaken off with ease. The mother needed a nap after her feast, but the youngster had other ideas. Boredom soon kicked in.
In here you just heard Thomas leaf monkeys as well.
Thomas's leaf monkey is another primate which is only found in the forests of northern Sumatra and is listed as vulnerable by the IUCN Red List. They are highly social and can live in groups of up to 20 individuals. There's often one dominant male and several females who care for their young. They have a diet consisting mostly of leaves and fruit, but are known to enjoy snails on the forest floor, as well as various flowers which they pollinate. This group displayed amazing agility on the forest edge before I entered. And there are other non-endemic primates which share this forest with orangutans. The silvery lutung is another monkey species which is more shy and bright orange during the first few months of its life. The orange colour is thought to aid the adults in quickly spotting infants in the face of danger. This could be when a predator is spotted, or if an infant accidentally falls from a branch. Long-tailed macaques also roam this forest and are often called cheeky monkeys by the locals due to their tendency to steal food from villages and crop fields. Although many people in Sumatra view them as pests, they are in fact classed as endangered due to declining numbers from conflicts with people, the pet trade, and medicinal exploitation. These macaques searched for food in this immense bird's nest fern back in Bukit Lawang. The larger pig-tailed macaque lives here too, and faces similar threats to the long-tailed macaque. It was time to head back to camp and settle in for the night in order to recharge for another day of searching. The next morning, I was feeling refreshed and eager to film more orangutans. Raja wanted to show me this beautiful waterfall as a side quest. But as we were admiring the scenery, we noticed a young male orangutan scaling a tree 50 meters away. Perhaps he had just finished drinking from one of the pools fed by the waterfall. I watched him climb higher and higher into the canopy, carrying his body weight with ease. But then he seemed to come across a gap in the foliage he couldn't cross. The next tree was just out of reach. Time to rethink. More momentum would be needed for this obstacle. Close, but left with a handful of leaves. Wasn't ready for that one. So close. This is just tiring now. This could be it. Success. As we walked further into the forest, we started to find signs of orangutans. A muddy handprint marks this branch on the edge of a small swamp where an orangutan briefly descended from the canopy to feed on mud. They do this to supplement their diet with minerals in the soil, a behaviour known as geophagy. Orangutans have also been observed feeding on smaller animals, including slow lorises. But this is rarely observed and tends to occur when the availability of ripe fruit is low. Their diet consists mainly of vegetation and fruit, and they play an important role in the ecosystem as seed dispersers. We soon found a group of orangutans feeding on fruit in the same tree. dropping seeds to the forest floor directly or through their feces, planting trees as they go. Although orangutans are often found in solitude, they occasionally gather in heavily fruiting trees to feed. This juvenile moved through the canopy to join its mother after filling its belly. They both struck a flattering pose, showing nothing but their backsides. It was time for them to get away from the crowd and find new areas to forage. The mother waits as the juvenile hesitates. Unsure of how to join its mother below, it decides to take the not-so-graceful route. Nearby was another female with a smaller baby. It was encouraging to see multiple infant orangutans in the area. The estimated population of Sumatran orangutans is around 14,000. This is a fragile number for a species which may have a maximum of 5 babies throughout its life, which can span for around 40 years in the wild. It can also take a decade or more for an orangutan to mature. This pair were also feeding on fruits in the canopy. Orangutans had extensive knowledge of the plants in their habitat, and our knowledge of their botanical intelligence was furthered recently. In 2022, a male Sumatran orangutan sustained a wound on his face after fighting with another male. This orangutan was then observed chewing the leaves of a medicinal plant known as akar kuning in Indonesia, or locally known as akar palo in Aceh. Once the leaves were chewed, he then applied the pulp to his wound repeatedly. Researchers then monitored this orangutan and found that the wound had healed within a week. After investigating the plant's chemical compounds, the researchers found the presence of antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and antifungal properties. The baby explored the sights and scents of its relatively new jungle home. Over time, it will develop knowledge of the plants in this forest, and will perhaps use them in inventive ways or learn tricks from its mother. The next morning, glorious sunshine dappled through the jungle as various creatures emerged. A caterpillar, which had a coat of hair remarkably similar to an orangutan's, remained motionless on the edge of camp. Perhaps this is a good omen for my last day of searching for orangutans here. Safar and I followed a rocky stream where a gap in the canopy makes it easier to see what's living up above. Also, the water may attract wildlife on this hot day. A long bushy tail suddenly catches our eye, and as we try to see what animal it's attached to, we are rewarded with a brilliant view of this black giant squirrel. Growing to around a meter in length, it's one of the largest squirrels in the world. It is widespread in Asia, but across its Indonesian range, it is known as a subspecies called Paleata. Also watching from above is a formidable predator. A changeable hawk eagle stands over its prey, a smaller bird it has just hunted. The name of this species refers to a pale and dark colour form displayed by adult birds. Juveniles, such as this one, boast a cleaner white coloration with fewer markings. This young bird is still learning how to hunt, and it appears to be getting the hang of it. And another avian marvel watches us. A rufous-collared kingfisher dwells in the forest, looking for small animals to eat. Clouds began to roll over the forest, providing us with a much-needed break from the heat. And suddenly, we hear the eerie call of what we are searching for. The voice of a large male orangutan changes the atmosphere of the forest. He calls from a high vantage point so that he can be heard far and wide, warning rival males of his territory and informing females of his location. I just have to see him.
So we just heard the alpha male orangutan in this area. And he seems to call from the top of the highest hill in the forest. And as we ascend, it's like going into King Kong's lair or something like that. I mean, look at this steep jungle. So far my guide is moving through this jungle so easily. And I'm really struggling to get up this hill. But I'll get there.
Sumatran orangutans primarily occupy lowland rainforest, but this forest type has suffered the most destruction by logging due to the ease of access for humans. This means many orangutans have been forced to live in forested hills at higher altitude within protected areas. Safar catches a glimpse of the male as my stomach stirs with anticipation. We wait in silence to see if he shows himself, and I hold my nerve as a huge centipede crawls around my foot. There he is. He's absolutely massive, with large flanges adorning the sides of his face. The growth of these enlarged cheek pads is fueled by high testosterone levels in the most mature and dominant male orangutans. It's an alpha trait, which many females find attractive. In addition to a large sac around his throat, it's also thought that the cheek pads amplify a male's call, which may be why we heard him so clearly from afar. He proceeds to feed on the tree buds surrounding him. For a moment, he decided to lie down and throw an unintentional shaka sign my way. And then our attention is drawn to movement above us. Another male orangutan makes his way towards the tree buds to feed. But this one is lacking cheek pads, indicating he is subordinate. His nervous behaviour reflects this as well, as he keeps a close eye on the dominant male. There seems to be a mutual understanding of hierarchy between them both, resulting in no aggression. The subordinate male does, however, have a beard that many human males would be envious of. In fact, one of the main differences between orangutans in Sumatra and Borneo is that Sumatran orangutans tend to have more facial hair. Although males with cheek pads tend to attract more females, males lacking cheek pads are sometimes able to mate if they can avoid conflict with the alpha male. However, this is often forced, as females would rather mate with the dominant male in most cases. The subordinate male doesn't stick around for long. Another orangutan arrives on the scene. This time it's a female, who may have heard the dominant male's call like we did. She heads straight towards him. Both seem focused on feeding rather than mating. While viewing them side by side, the smaller, more slender frame of the female is apparent. I'm mesmerized by their human-like expressions. After all, orangutan is a word from the Malay language, which translates to person of the forest. Watching one of our closest relatives in this seemingly endless jungle makes it easy to forget just how little forest is left and how few of these magnificent apes exist in the wild. Having the opportunity to sit here and watch one of the world's most endangered species in its natural habitat is a real honour, and something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. But despite the fragile existence of the Sumatran orangutan, there is a glimmer of hope. In some areas where roads have fragmented the Leuser rainforest, the canopy is encouraged to connect over the roads, providing a bridge that orangutans and other tree-dwelling species can use to cross. This is key for the genetic diversity of the orangutan population, as a wider range of individuals can mate with one another over a larger area without man-made structures getting in the way. In addition, more people in Aceh are practicing agroforestry, where crops are grown in the forest edges without the need to cut down trees. Some crops are inevitably eaten by wildlife, but enough crops are planted to ensure plenty of produce for farmers. Since 2008, over 2,390 hectares of native rainforest has been lost to illegal palm oil and rubber plantations. But the Orangutan Information Centre and Leuser National Park Authority collaborated to replant more than 800 hectares of forest inside and outside the Gunung Leuser National Park. More than 2 million seeds of 97 indigenous tree species have been planted. This project also creates jobs in local communities, as people are paid to maintain and enhance native tree nurseries. Although primary rainforest can never truly return to its original state after being destroyed, the secondary rainforest created by this project is hugely beneficial to the ecosystem. Orangutans, tigers, elephants, and more have slowly been returning to these reforested areas. And responsible ecotourism continues to provide benefits to the ecosystem and the local economy. Some guides in Sumatra used to be hunters, but today guiding can provide an alternative stable income. More communities are placing increased value on the forest because of ecotourism. With all of this in mind, I still have some hope for the Sumatran orangutan. However, the threat of habitat destruction and poaching is ever present, and their future still remains uncertain. In the final episode of this series, I'll be searching for Sumatra's incredible flora in the north and south of the island, while sharing the wildlife I encountered along the way.